Well, g'day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Mad Dragons vodcast. We tried to do this last week on the Facebook live stream, but we finally been able to get the man himself, Billy the Kid Dibb. Welcome to the Mad Dragons vodcast.
Thank you for having me, fellas. Thank you.
No worries.
Well, welcome, buddy.
It's an honor to be here, guys. Go the Dragons.
That's it, eh?
Dragons
Nice.
for life,
baby.
That's it.
The first question I've got for you, Billy, is you haven't fought since January this year. Are you retired, or is there something else in the pipeline for you?
I'm not retired. Unfortunately, it's just that COVID, COVID's really affected boxing. We haven't really been able to promote many events at the moment, but I've had a couple of fights scheduled and we've had to change the date, but it looks like next year, February. So, I know you all see Tim's doing that fighting, but he's obviously fighting in Brisbane, and my crowd, my niche crowd is in Sydney. But I just think that just the way COVID's going at the moment, I think my next fight will be in Brisbane.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Have you got
Road trip.
opponent lined up, mate, or not ready to announce?
Yeah, for sure. I'm not worried about announcing anything. I don't like to hold back anything, but I'm moving up in weight to lightweight, and obviously I always do things in a way where I know that I can secure another opportunity. So I'm moving up to lightweight to face a guy who's ranked number 5 in the world with the WBO and number 7 in the world with the IBF. And I know that a victory against this guy would secure me another big opportunity. And especially with George Kambosos fighting Teofimo Lopez soon at lightweight, if George can somehow pull off the upset, then that could set up a big fight against me and George. But firstly, I've got to get through Jacob NG. His name is Jacob NG, and he's undefeated with 16 fights. He's promoted by Ace Boxing Promotions. He's doing really well, and as I said, it's a big opportunity for me. And the contract's pretty much signed. The deal's done. We just need COVID to behave, and we'll be right.
What I want to do is I want to go right back to the start, Billy. You debuted in August 2004 on what looked like an absolutely fantastic card. It was a Paul Briggs undercard. Had the likes of Lovemore Nadu, Sakio Bika on the card as well. What do you remember of your debut fight?
I don't really remember much of anything besides my fight and Paul Briggs's fight. I don't remember watching Sakio Bika and Lovemore. I was just so caught up in the moment, but I was just so excited to be turning professional and on such a big card, such a big audience, I remember the promoter asking me, how many tickets do you need? How many tickets can you sell? And I was like, give me 100. And he goes, what? Okay, give me 100. I'll sell them, no problem anyway. So he said, okay, I'll tell you what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to give you a complete section. And if you sell it out, he goes, I'll give you a bonus. I said, all right, no problem. So he gave me a complete section. I sold the whole section. He could not believe it. How have you got such a big audience? I was like, man, 100 is nothing. I could do that with my eyes closed, So I got 100 cousins.
Only 100? Only 100 cousins?
Only 100. 150,000.
That's not without second cousins too. Don't forget the second cousins.
So it's like, obviously turning pro on such a great card and then getting the stoppage. I remember right after the fight, my brother Jard was like, listen, we're going to send you to some acting classes. We need to get you right in front of the microphone. Because I remember the guy, I was just blabbering on about nothing. How did you feel during the fight? Oh, I did this and I did that. I talked for longer than the fight went, to be honest with you.
Did you ever do the acting classes?
I did, to be honest with you. I went to an acting school called the Actors Pulse in Redfern, and I stayed there for about 2 years. Not that I was trying to become an actor, but I wanted to be able to talk well in front of a camera. I wanted to be able to talk well in front of an audience. I wanted to be able to talk well right now where we are. I wanted to make sure that I was completely literate and spoke well. That's what I wanted.
Yeah. Makes a difference, eh?
Definitely. There's so many athletes out there, like, I'm not taking the mickey from anybody, or just a lot of footballers who can't even string a sentence together. I'm like, man, you're a professional athlete. It's your profession to talk to people and to present. So you know, and
Well,
you represent
It
your
definitely,
brand.
worked for you, Billy.
No, thank you very
Yeah.
much. You worked hard on it.
You're right. You can tell, you know what, apart from all that, you can tell you're a gentleman. You were raised by great
Oh,
family. bro.
exactly,
So
sure.
you got to hold your head up. Not only you represented Australian people, but you also represented people from within our own culture in the Arab world. And
Thank
I'm
you
very
very
proud
much.
of you.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. That means
I, as a Lebanese expat, I hold my head up high with athletes like you that represent us, you know?
thank
Yeah.
you, man. It's an honor. It's an honor.
And he's a Dragon supporter.
That's
And,
it.
Hold off.
I think the first time that I saw you fight was you might see the up on the wall here. I've got signed poster of Vic Darchinyan.
yeah, big Dutch Indian, yeah.
So I think that was probably the first time I saw you fight was when I think you were 3-0 or 4-0, and you fought on the Vic Darchinyan undercard. Took on Michael
I
Kidd.
think I can remind you of that night. Vic Darchinyan fought. He was defending his world title, and I think it was at the Sydney Entertainment Centre, if my memory serves me correct. Because I remember that was probably the only card that I fought on, and I fought a gentleman from Uganda, and his name was Michael Kiza. His record was, I think, 19 wins and 5 losses.
Yep.
And I managed to knock him out in 2 rounds, which was a really big win.
Wow.
I actually tweeted about that the other day. I think that's the last tweet on my page because I said that, you know what, fighting Kiza was the moment that I knew that I was ready to step up that next level, because the fact that I got him out of there in 2 rounds and he had gone done many rounds with the Commonwealth champion, and I thought, yeah, I'm definitely on the right track. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah,
That's cool,
I remember
Yeah,
an incredibly impressive performance. As I say, it was the first time I'd seen you fight, and I couldn't believe how impressive you were so early in your career against a bloke that did have a bit of experience and some good fighters on his resume as well. So I think you dropped him in the first and then knocked him out in the second, didn't you?
That's correct. I did. I knocked him down in the first round and then I stopped him in the second round. Yeah.
Can I ask a question, Don?
Go for it,
Yes.
mate.
Oh, Billy, congratulations on a brilliant career up until now.
Thank you.
You've been doing great, making Australia proud. But you went 20-0, and then you lost your first fight against that American Steve.
Louisville.
Steve, yeah. And what did you change in your training after losing that fight? Did you change anything?
So I did, to be honest with you. I changed a lot. I changed my whole team. I restructured the whole team. And that's not to blame anybody in the team for the loss, because I'm not one of those people that blames people. But I just feel like in order to progress in your life and in order to progress in anything you're doing, you need to grow. And I sort of felt like I'd hit a brick wall in terms of learning with this team. I had got to the point where I was no longer the student. I became like the guy. I felt like I knew more than my trainers did, and without saying disrespectful, I just, I didn't want to take their advice anymore. And obviously, the truth is that I didn't want the Louisville fight. That's the truth. I actually was trying to get out of it because the previous fight before that was a really difficult fight against Zolani Morali, which took place in Newcastle for the IBO World Title. And I basically pushed myself to the breaking point to win that fight. And then to come back and fight Louisville for the WBO featherweight title, which was a weight division below where I was champion, I knew that was going to be a hard task. And I tried to talk to the team, explain to them that I didn't want the fight. But basically, our backs were up against the wall, and Golden Boy Promotions and Oscar De La Hoya had given us an ultimatum saying either you do the fight or we're going to terminate your contract.
You've done, that's right.
Yeah. And so they gave us 5 weeks to prepare. And so I started preparing, and then about 4.5 weeks out, they rang my brother and said the fight's off.
Oh.
And then my brother said to me, go and eat whatever you want, the fight's off. I'm telling you, the fight's off. So that night when he rang me and said that, truth be told, I went and got pizza. And then the following day he rang me and he said, Bill, I got bad news. I said, fight's back on. And I said to him, I said, you are crazy. I said, listen, I've got to lose 10 kilos in 4.5 weeks. This is impossible. Anyway, I basically went to hell and back to make the weight. Anyway, and then obviously once I made the weight, I was so disheartened with the way everything was controlled and everything was, the way I was pushed by the promotional company. Once I got in the ring, I didn't really care about winning or losing anymore. I just
Yeah.
was so angry. I was so disheartened by the sport and was thinking to myself, you know what? Whether I win or lose, I don't really care. I'm not going
Yeah.
to push myself to the breaking point to
So,
win this
so,
fight.
so after that, you changed your whole team.
Everything. I changed everything.
Wow.
I actually hired a trainer who was a childhood nemesis of mine. His name was Billy Hussein, and I fought a lot of his up and coming talent and beat him.
Yep.
He didn't really like me, and I didn't really like him too much. But I actually went away on a pilgrimage to Mecca in the holy city of Mecca, and I asked God, because my father said to me, "You can ask for anything you want there." And I said to God, "God, please direct me to somebody who can guide me to winning another world title." And when I came home, it's just like by chance that I trained with Billy Hussein's brother, who was a nice guy, and he asked me who my trainer was, and I said, "Look, I don't have one." And he goes, "Maybe you should speak to Billy." And I said to him, I said, "He'd never trained me." And he goes, "No, I'll talk to him." Well, next thing you know, we linked up, and Billy Hussein basically said, "Look, I'll train you, but under my conditions and my rules." And he had a set of rules, and the rules were that he didn't want to talk about another world title fight for 10 fights. So he wanted me to have 10 fights with him.
Wow, 10.
Yeah, and you got to remember, I was a world-class fighter at that time, and I could have got a world title fight earlier than that. But he said to me, "I need 10 fights to transform me into the fighter that I want. So do you agree?" And I pretty much said, "Yes, I'll do whatever it takes." And we just got on the journey. And then truth be told, 9 fights after, we had 9 fights together, and I was ranked number 1 in the world. And my 10th fight was for the world title. And we didn't just win, we absolutely obliterated the guy.
That's right, yeah.
We outboxed him every single round. On most of the judges' cards, I was up on every card. And so I just like did a number job on this guy, you know what I mean? And was amazing. And finally had arrived on the stage, and now was a 2-time world champion, you know what I mean? When I was a kid, growing up in Engadine and in the Sutherland Shire, I dreamed of winning 1 world title, just 1.
Yeah.
The fact that I'd become a 2-time world champion, and what I went through at school, you know, like I went through the bullying, you know, I went through teachers saying that I'd never be anything, I'd never going to amount to anything. Here I was, you know, I'd arrived on the stage, and now I was a 2-time world champion, and I was representing my family, my country, my culture, my people at the highest level and winning.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to change everything to change your life, don't you?
Well, that's what I just made a decision to go in another direction, and you know, I knew that a lot of people were hurt along the way. I'm not going to say that wasn't.
Yes.
I never blamed no one. I never blamed anyone for my losses. I've always taken it on the chin. I've always said that whatever happens is by God's will, and I accept that. So I got no issues with that. You know, like today I'm 46 wins and 6 losses. You know, I take my 6 losses on the chin like a man, and it is what it is. We'll bounce back from it.
Yeah, cool. That's great, man. That's absolutely fantastic. Congratulations on a great career up to now.
Thank you very much.
Obviously, nowadays you're a household name and a headline act in your own right, Billy. But you did fight on some pretty amazing cards. I think your first fight overseas was on a Ricky Hatton card. You fought on Shane Mosley, Winky Wright, Floyd Mayweather. Yeah. What was the best card that you fought on? I mean, you fought in some great venues as well.
Yeah, so when I signed to Golden Boy, I was the first international signing that they had on the company on the roster. So, you know, obviously to fly me and my team over was a costly exercise for them. So every time I fought, being the fact that I lived in Australia, they could only afford to put me on really big cards because the cards generated a lot of money. So just due to luck, my first undercard was Corte versus Winky Wright. Second one was Shane Mosley versus Collazo. Third one was De La Hoya versus Mayweather.
Oh, that would have been awesome, that one, man. Oh, my God.
Yeah, so that one would have been, yeah.
Yeah, the fourth one was Cotto versus Shane Mosley. Fifth one was Michael Katsidis, who was an Australian and he fought Joel Casamayor. And then the sixth one was me as the main support on the undercard of Bernard Hopkins versus Kelly Pavlik, and that was against Stephen Levino. So I only fought on really big cards in America when I was there with Golden Boy. Then when I went back again with 50 Cent, I was champion of the world, so I was the headline act. I was the main thing. So, which was amazing. But I remember the first time I ever fought overseas, because the biggest venue that I had fought in Australia to that point was at the Campbelltown Cube, and there was like maybe a couple of thousand people there at that point. That was probably my biggest fight. And as we were walking out to the venue this is at the St. Pete Times in Florida. This was a massive venue. I Corte versus Winky Wright. And as we were walking out to the venue, my brother Muhammad said, "Stop for a second." And we're like, "Well, what's going on here?" So everyone in the team stopped, and he goes, "I just want to say congratulations to you, champ, because you brought us from the shit house to the penthouse." He goes, "Because of you, we've now traveled across the world, and now we're going to fight at this big venue, and you're going to go out and do us proud, and we're proud of you regardless of what happens,
What a legend.
When I stopped and I thought, man, this is crazy. I'm in a crowd. There's 15,000 people in the crowd, and I'm walking out to the ring, and people were cheering me on, and it was awesome, man. And I had De La Hoya and Mayweather, De La Hoya and Shane Mosley and Bernard Hopkins ringside cheering me on, and I loved it. It was amazing. Stoked.
Wow. Gradovic. You had a couple of fights against him. The first one, were you robbed in the first one?
Yeah. So look, I don't like to, as I said, I don't like to make excuses. But in the first fight, I'm actually working on my book deal right now, guys. So this is all going to be in the book. But I'll just give you a little bit of an insight. Again, I was never supposed to fight Gradovic, and I had signed the contract to fight under the banner of TMT Promotions, which was owned by Floyd Mayweather and 50 Cent. And unfortunately, I got stuck in the middle of a war between 50 Cent and Floyd Mayweather, and basically Floyd Mayweather had me blacklisted from Showtime TV. So I was supposed to be fighting a guy called Jason Litzel, and that was a done deal for the fight. He was the number one contender. And then something happened. Floyd Mayweather had me blacklisted from Showtime, so Jason went off and did his own thing. Next thing you know, I was supposed to be fighting a guy called Luis Franco, who was now the number one contender. It was a done deal. And we were 5 weeks out from the fight, and I was preparing for Jason Litzel. Then he pulls out, and the next thing you know, they brought in a replacement who was a guy from Argentina, and his name was Mauricio Herrera. So I start training for Mauricio Herrera, and this is like 4.5 weeks out. Then about 3.5 weeks out, they changed the opponent to Gradovic. I had no idea who he was. They just said to me, "Look, he's undefeated. He's 16-0. You shouldn't have any issues with him." And then about 2.5 weeks out from the fight, I got a really, really bad throat infection, and I was going to pull out of the fight. But obviously, I had been out of the ring for some time, and like the bills were piling up, and I needed to fight, and I was getting paid decent money. I'm not going to lie. So I said, I'm just going to do my best. So I went and saw the doctor. They gave me some medication. The doctor said to me, "Don't fight. I suggest you don't." I said, "I'm going to do it." So he says, "Well, you just do what you got to do. I wish you all the best." Went to America, and on the night of the fight, I rang my mum as I was walking to the venue. And I said to her, "Listen, do me a favor. Do not watch the fight tonight." She said, "Why not?" And I said, "It's not going to go well." She said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I just don't feel myself. I don't feel well." I said, 50 Cent's trying to rob me of my money. I go, "I don't feel myself. I'm just not in the right headspace, and I don't think it's going to go well." And then obviously I got to the change room. I tried to psych myself up to get ready for the fight, which I did. Got out to the ring, and I won the first five rounds comfortably. That means all I got to do is win one more round to get a draw, or 2 more rounds to win the fight. I've won the first 5 rounds on every judge's card. Unfortunately, at the end of round 5, not by purpose, I know he didn't do it on purpose, but Gradovic threw a punch, and I slipped, and as I slipped it, he came back with his elbow and elbowed me in the back of the head. He split the back of my head open. I still got the scar on the back of the head till today. It was a big gash, and it was leaking blood like crazy, right? But I was so heavily concussed from that point that the game plan that was in my head completely I forgot what I like.
Well,
You
about
imagine 5 rounds. You've outboxed this guy. You're having so much success. Why
Yeah.
would you change the plan? Like, but I wasn't in the right state of mind. Anyway, in my opinion, I've watched the fight back about 50 times. Every time I watch it, I can't help but watch myself win. Like I won that fight.
Yeah.
And then after and this is a crazy thing because in round 9 or round 8, the referee deducted a point off me for holding, which I wasn't even holding. Gradovic was holding me, and I was trying to get out of it, and the ref said, "No, you're holding." So he deducted a point, which is okay, no problem. Then 50 Cent gets in the ring, Lou DiBella, and my team get in the ring, and they're all like, "You've won the fight." So I'm thinking I've won the fight. You know, in my mind, I thought I won the fight. I wobbled him, I staggered him. It was a hard fight, but you know, we gave it everything. But I knew that I was victorious at the end of it. And then one of the judges says, 115, 113, Billy did. So that's me winning by 2 rounds. The next judge says 114, 113, Gradovic, which now means that he's won by 1 point. And then the other judge says in the 114, 113, and the winner and the new. And when they said the new, I just turned around and put my head in my brother's chest, just started crying because I couldn't believe that, you know, 50 Cent and all of them had gotten in the ring and said I'd won the fight. So, you know, if they had come in the ring and said you've lost, I would have took it a bit better. But obviously I was very, very hurt by it. And, you know, it was one of those things, you know, I was so devastated that I lost my world title after all these years of working so hard to get there. And then after arriving at this point and winning this world title, I felt so disheartened and so robbed by the sport of boxing. It was, you know, Floyd Mayweather had put me in a really bad predicament, you know what I mean? And you know, he hurt me and I lost my world title. And I actually fronted Floyd Mayweather about this years later. And I said to him, I lost my world championship because of you. And, you know, he denied it. But I said to him, mate, I said, how can you live with yourself? You know, you guys have robbed me for $1 million. Like,
Yeah.
I go, what is $1 million to somebody like you? To me, it's a lot, but to you, it's nothing.
Right.
Why wouldn't you just give it to me? You've robbed me of my money. I lost my world title because of you. These are all the things that I've written about in my autobiography. And that's why I'm telling you now, guys, my autobiography is going to be explosive. You know what I mean? I've actually, like, I've dead set revealed all. I've actually placed a contract in the book. I want the world to see that Floyd Mayweather and 50 Cent robbed me of what was rightfully mine.
Yeah, well,
I know.
Yeah.
So who was advising?
And then look, and then obviously, you know, there was the opportunity for the rematch, and you know, I felt like, you know, going into the rematch, I felt like all I needed to do was be 5% better than I was in the last fight, and I was going to be
And then you got
victorious.
him.
I wasn't being cocky and arrogant about it. I worked extremely hard in the lead up. Make no mistakes about that. I worked my backside off. But then when I got in the ring with him, you wouldn't believe it. After the first round, I come back to the corner and I said to my trainer, I said, listen, his gloves are loaded. And he says, no, they're not. I watched him tape his hands. And I said, listen, there's something in the gloves. Because this guy was hitting me on my shoulder and he was like dead, you know, like getting a dead arm.
Yeah.
I felt like this guy was hitting me with a sledgehammer and he hit me on the chin. I swear to you, I'd never been hit so hard in my life. And I just gone 12 rounds with this guy and he didn't hit that hard.
Yeah.
And then after the fight, my father said, we got to do a urine sample in front of each other. And they refused to do it. They refused to give a urine sample in front of us. They said,
Wow.
no, we've already done it. Well, would you believe that three fights later, he was found out to be dirty and banned from boxing for life.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
And I promise you, in my whole career, forget the weights. Amir Khan didn't even hit me as hard as he hit me on that night. He was hitting me so hard. And then I actually, you know, I ended up going through a stint in my career where I went and trained with the team that trained him. And I asked the trainer, I said, listen, can you honestly look me in the eyes and say that he wasn't on anything? He goes, Billy, look, you know what? I don't know what he was on. He goes, you know, he had Russian people looking after him. I was just his trainer. I wasn't his manager. I wasn't his strength and conditioning trainer. I just taught him how to box. And I said, man, you know what? I said to him, I've never been hit that hard in my life, man. And I took it like he never even like knocked me down or anything like that. You know what I mean? But the fact that he was hurting me so much, you know, like in the end, my trainer was like, that's enough, man. You know, and I'm not going to let you go back to the hospital. I'm I'm not letting you. We're getting on a plane tomorrow to go home. We're not staying here to go to the hospital. Forget that, you know. We're getting another opportunity. So I mean, that's life. That's boxing. But I can't complain. I've had the most amazing journey. You know, I've achieved something that people dream to achieve. Just one world title. I got two. You know what I mean? So like,
Thank God.
at the end of that,
Thank God.
like, and look, I didn't get everything that I wanted out of the sport of boxing. You know, there was so much more that I wanted, and I expected so much more from myself. But really, you know, in hindsight, the journey that I've had has been incredible thus far. And if I do fight again, I do. And if I don't, then I don't. You know what I mean? It doesn't bother me anymore. My goal now is to inspire the world, you know, to inspire the listeners and to be somebody who inspires others and give other people hope that no matter what you're going through in your life, ups, downs, whatever it is, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. And if you believe in yourself, anything is possible.
That's mad, eh?
Yeah, that's it. Thank
Yeah,
God.
amen to that.
We got about 2 minutes until Zoom kicks us off. Benny, did you have a question there, mate?
Yeah, obviously, I was just sort of saying to Billy, and I guess it sort of ties in with the Dragons. Just, you know, as a champion boxer, how much does mindset, like, you know, alter performance? You know, like your frame of mind. You know, how much does it affect performance?
Look, if there's any negativity, if there's one thing that I can tell you guys, and one thing that I've learned today and now, is that if there's any doubt, if there's any self-doubt, or if there's any negativity around, that's a sign to pull the pin. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because if you go into a fight half questioning yourself, it's over. It's over. That's why I always had this mindset when I was young and growing up. I don't think lose, and I don't think what if. I get them out of my mind, because if you think what if this happens, what if that happens, you're not going to succeed. So I got that out of my mind completely and just focused on winning. That's it. Yeah. To me, all I had to do in my mind when I was a kid, I say to myself, you've worked hard enough. All you need to do is turn up, and you've already won. Just turn up. You know what I mean? This guy can't beat you. He's not in the same realm as you, let alone, you know, to think that this guy could do anything to you. You're going to beat the champ. You're going to do this. And that's how I felt like. It's like when I got up on the day of the world title fight against Lasieva. I said to my mom and dad, I said, listen, you guys are looking at the next champion of the world. And then my mom's like, just say God will. I said, God willing, but I'm telling you right now, this guy cannot be in the same ring with me tonight. I'm on another level. And I went out there and proved that.
I gotta grind, won't stop, hustle, won't quit, shine like no other, I be on some other shit. I got a high price lifestyle, super bad bitch. If I want it, bet I got it. If I don't, bet all I gotta do is go, get, stay about my business, ball till I fall, floss until I finish, I did go, get, stay about my business, I live in get the killing, stacking million to the ceiling, every day above ground, all I wanna do is ball, put my money over bitch, you put my hustle overall, Louis down to the draw, Louis Vuitton kicks, got a mad hat, a swagger bitch, I'm stupid dumb sick, with a group of young bitches and they stupid dumb thick, I'm the marathon man, all I do is run shit, a sophisticated convict, superficial, still official, multi-million-dollar shit, money is the object, hot shit, bitch, I got a sauna on my arm, sick figure with no diamond, Richie Millie, Vacheron, they just talk about they got it, I'm the upper echelon, no, bitch, I'm about that action, you could go on with the combo, I done more than you dream back at your dream, bitch, in your dream house, on lean passing them beans out, with a bag
oh, shit, that's quick.
Bro, you know me, you know I be, that's all I see, I-G-O-G-E-T-I-D, grind won't stop, hustle won't quit, shine like no other, I be on some other shit, I got a high price lifestyle, super bad bitch, if I want it, bet I got it, if I don't, bet all I gotta do is go, get, stay about my business, ball till I fall, floss until I finish, I did go, get, stay about my business, I live and get the killing, stacking million to the ceiling, I real life, but late night, get shit fade when I take flight, I get paid, no sick days, my outfit's
a bit of ammunition for him, but there's Billy gives ammunition.
Still ride with that fofo, but don't let my P.O. know. Bad white bitch, super thick, I'm iced tea, she Coco. She got another bitch, them other bitches, her ass fat, face so-so. No paper trail, no phone call, no emails, no photos. Jet back shot with that fat button, low blow head butts in slow-mo. Hey, purple label, polo, and a cool, that's all I do. Man, I strive to roll my denim in them new Margiela shoe. Man, we be cool and we jet parlay. Oh, margarita, Molly, and the strongest pack around. Bumpin' shot they out now. We menage for a hobby. We kick it how we kick it. Know you envy how I'm living. Chick can't resist it. Pimpin', get the million back my business. Bro, you know me, you know I be. Stacking that dough, that's all I see. IGOGETID. Grind won't stop. Hustle won't quit. Shine like no other. I be on some other shit. I got a high price lifestyle. Super bad bitch. If I want it, then I got it. If I don't get all I gotta do is go. Stay about my business. Ball till I fall. Floss until I finish. I just go. Stay about my business.
Oh, nice shot.
To the ceiling, I just go. Now just go.
But he's... Oh, bit of take one and Tim drops it. And it's a big shot. If you want to fight, you'll fight. You'll find a way to fight. And Billy Dibb's a good example of that.
I'm not going to make an agreement to rest. I'm not going to make an agreement to tie up. I'm going to make a decision, a choice to punch in the side and to be a champion.
Well, here we are. We are joined by two-time world champion Billy the Kid Dibb, who just happens to be a Mad Dragon. Billy, tell us about how you became a Mad Dragons fan.
Yeah, so it started from a young age, right? And as a kid, I supported the Dragons because my uncle Haytham, who unfortunately passed away at the age of 26 from leukemia, was a Mad Dragons fan. Like, I'm talking Mad Dragons fan. And my grandmother's house, because he obviously lived with my grandmother, who was her last child. He lived with her, you know, obviously his whole life. And my grandmother's house was always packed with Dragons, you know, memorabilia everywhere, T-shirts, jumpers, the flags, everything like that. So everyone in our family, well, I could say 97% of our family follows the Dragons, and the other 3% follow the Dogs. Because they're not loyal. They're not loyal. You know what I mean? And even though we lived in Engadine, and you think you live in Engadine, you probably support the Cronulla Sharks. So I was just a Mad Dragons fan, man, because of my uncle. And so, obviously, when he passed away in 1996. At that time, I was only 11 years of age, but I always thought, God willing, one day they're going to win the grand final in memory of my uncle, And I just followed him and supported him. And the craziest thing is that they won the premiership in 2010.
Yes.
And I had won a world title in 2008, but I didn't really have the access that I wanted to the Dragons and stuff. I always thought, how cool would it be to be able to access these people? And then they won the grand final in 2010. I went to the game. I did the whole, parade thing with them. It was unbelievable. And then literally the following year, I won the world title. And when I became champion of the world, somebody asked me and said, "Listen, if you could have one thing, what would you want?" And I said, "If I could have one thing in Australia, I said I want access to the Dragons. I want to be able to access the change rooms, the games. I want to access their training, everything." And somebody said, "All right, leave that to me." And I ended up meeting the coach, who at the time was the great, he just slipped my mind. Would you believe that? I can't believe it.
Wayne Bennett?
Wayne Bennett?
Yeah, Wayne Bennett. So it's because you get confused with my trainer. So
I had a Mick moment.
I was invited to the game, and Wayne Bennett was I was invited in to sit with Wayne Bennett while he was chatting to the team at halftime. Could not believe it. And he introduced me. And obviously, he asked me to say a few words, and I just told him to get out there and get the win for us, and they did. And then he invited me back in the change room after the game, and basically just said, "Look, Billy, you're welcome to come to every game. You're allowed to jump on the team bus with us. You're allowed to come to all sessions." So I had complete access whenever I wanted. All I had to do was pick up the phone and say, "Could I get down to the training session today?"
That's cool.
And then the following year, Pricey took over, and at the time, Pricey was his co-trainer, right? So I had a mad relationship with Pricey, and then Pricey pretty much opened the doors for me to come whenever I wanted. I could come to every session, and that was the greatest thing ever, honestly. Like, so the following year, which was 2011, they didn't win the grand final. Then the next year, which was 2012, they started their training camp with by going away somewhere really far, and it was secluded, no telephones, basically. We were training with these army people, it was like sort of SAS sort of feel, you know what I mean? Get up, you know what I mean? Making us do burpees and push-ups at like freaking 2 and 3 in the morning. Well, I didn't care. I just wanted to be there, and I ended up having the greatest relationship with Jamie Soward and Matt Cooper.
Honestly, how proud would your uncle have been? God rest his soul.
Man,
if he had seen that, imagine,
you know what? I promise you, I only wish that he could have been around. I could have took him. He would have loved it, man. But you know what? To have the access that I had to Jamie Soward and to Coops, I had the maddest relationship with all three of them. With the trainer, which was Pricey, and with Coops and with Jamie Soward. Truth be told, guys, when I signed my contract with 50 Cent and Floyd Mayweather, first person I rang on the phone was Jamie Soward. That's the truth. I love the Dragons. I was mad about the Dragons. You know what I mean? So hopefully we can bring another grand final. Hopefully my son gets to see us win a grand final. That'd be great.
God willing. How's your little boy doing?
I always said I don't care whether we win another grand final or not, because I've seen one in my lifetime, and that's all I want.
Same, mate.
The Dragons.
That's it, 100%.
What a year that was! What a team that was, man.
Yeah, so you probably answered one of my questions there as to who your favourite player was, but Jamie Soward's obviously pretty high on the list, mate.
Listen, Jamie was just a great guy, you know what I mean? Me and him just got along, and he loved the boxing. And you know what, Jamie, at the time, you had Jamie Soward, you had Matt Cooper, and you had Craig Young was there. All of them boys were there, you know what I mean? So, but me and Soward just gravitated towards each other. He loved the boxing, so I'd put him through the pads every now and then. And Coops was another legend. Coops was like he loved the MMA and the boxing and everything, So they come out and watch me fight. I got them ringside seats, and they come in the change room. It was like awesome, His Billy did wanting to get in their change room, and then they wanted to get in mine. I was like, man, I wanted to have
full circle, eh?
It was so cool that they showed me so much love and respect. I love that. It was awesome. That was probably, if you asked me what was the pinnacle of you being world champion and what was the pinnacle of of your life, I'd say being able to access things that other people couldn't access. That was the biggest thing about being champion of the world, that I could be somewhere where other people couldn't. And I was like, man, I love that, And I took people along the journey. I never held back. Like I took all my brothers, my friends, my cousins, like whoever wanted to come, I took them with me. I didn't care.
That's mad, eh?
Yeah, it's cool. And you know what? The security guard for the Dragons, the security guard, he ended up becoming my security guard as well. So he was my security guard in my fights, and still till today. His name's Peter Grant, and he's like the big security guard for the Dragons, and he always comes to my fights and does my security. And he's always the one that escorts me into the games and stuff. So if I ring him and say like, Pete, I want to come to the game, no problem. Come and see me, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely fantastic. Billy, I'll give you the last chance before we let you go. We've taken up probably enough of your time tonight. I know you're a busy man and got a lot of things that you got to get done. But yeah, tell us a little bit more about when the book's likely to be out. And
guys, I had a great meeting this morning with the company called Hashit, who's actually doing Sonny Bill Williams' book at the moment. My autobiography is finished. I've finished writing it. Now I've handed it over to a journalist by the name of Jamie Pandaram, who's going to obviously edit it and rewrite it and fix it up where I've made mistakes. But pretty much it's going to be my story. It's like the book is written by Billy Dibb and edited by Jamie Pandaram. So when you're reading it as if I've written it. It's like I'm taking the readers into the fight, into the journey of, obviously 50 Cent, Floyd Mayweather, winning, losing. Obviously, the biggest thing in my life was losing my wife, who passed away in 2015. So I mean that was probably one of the most difficult things I've had to deal with, and not that I can give anyone advice on how to deal with their losing loved ones, but it's definitely something that I've written about in depth, right? I've written in depth about it, and so that's probably one of the biggest challenges in my life, and I just all I can say is, I just hope that people can learn something from the book, and hopefully it can be a tool for other people to make better decisions where I made mistakes.
Yeah, fantastic. Do you have a working title for the book, or is it just Billy Did?
I don't know yet. I don't know, but I just my whole new thing is that it's like everything in your life can only happen with self-belief. You know what I mean? So my new brand that I have a new brand that I've just started. It's called Believe, BILLYVE, and it's funny because that's not how Believe is spelled, but you got to put the Billy in the V.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my new brand that I've just launched now, and
Cool.
that's what it's all about. It's all about believing in yourself, and you guys might have a lot of listeners listening to this, and if you're a young man and you have dreams of or aspirations of one day playing for the Dragons, it all starts with the self-belief. If you don't have that belief in yourself, it doesn't matter if the 6 people on the screen right now believe in somebody, that person doesn't believe in themselves, they'll never succeed. It all starts with you. If you want something bad enough in your life, it starts with you. And that's my biggest advice is that, if you have a dream, chase it. Don't let anything stop you. Run through brick walls if you have to get there. That's what I did. I did whatever it took. And I was never going to let anyone say to me that I couldn't get there.
No, that's an absolutely beautiful message there, mate. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. And hopefully you are.
I just want to say thank you very much. God bless you all. And, I'm honored to be on the podcast. And hopefully the Dragons can start racking up a few wins next year and we can see another grand final one day.
Yeah, 100%.
That's right, 100%.
That's our goal.
All right, we'll take a
We're all
quick break.
Dragons for life, baby.
I appreciate it. God bless you all. Take care.
Yeah, brother.
Cheers, Billy. See you, bro.
Thank you.
We'll take a quick break here at the Mad Dragons vodcast, and we'll be back in just a minute.
His game lost only once. That was to Steve Levine. The WBA featherweight title as Did goes to work. It is round 1. He has predicted a knockout. He wants a knockout. He wants to make a statement.
Sometimes Chris being
Servidei stunned.
He's
down with 50 seconds remaining in round 9.
Call it a knockdown, the referee.
Oh, Did goes to work again, attacking the body, changing levels, and doing so absolutely perfectly. A controlled aggression. Servidei is Billy Did in 1 round.
G'day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Mad Dragons vodcast. Wasn't that just a fantastic interview? And it was great for Billy to spend that time with us and to take us through his career and his love of the Dragons.
Yeah, it's good.
That's it.
Yeah, I've known Billy for years. So it was good to get him on and have a chat.
That's great. Well done, Ben.
Thanks, mate. Thanks, Billy.
Right, let's talk a little bit of footy, and before we talk about finals, some big news in the state of origin ranks. Billy Slater has been named as the new coach of Queensland. Maybe we haven't heard much from you tonight. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it makes sense. I mean, he's a Queensland legend. I've never liked Slater because of who he played for at club level. You can say that about pretty much anyone from Melbourne. But no, look, he loves the game. He's obviously got a lot of knowledge to impart on the younger blokes, and no, I reckon he'll do all right.
Oh,
Bit of a gamble.
Well, Billy Slater coaching Queensland, and Paul McGregor as the assistant for New South Wales. We're pretty much screwed as New South Wales.
I'll take Slater, thanks. Yeah, Slater for me.
Has Slater coached anywhere at club level? Like,
No, but he's still been more successful than Mary.
yeah, possibly. Yeah.
No, but
Yeah,
I think it's
it's a bit of a gamble.
I think State of
It's a bit
Origin
of a gamble,
different beast.
inexperienced.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's more of
a
a
different beast. It is, yeah. It's true because
it's
you've already
like
got
a team of coaches.
players are already there, and if they don't know how to play, they shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of putting plays in place to tell the boys this is what I want you to do.
Yeah, pretty much.
I could coach New South Wales.
He'd probably go better than Mary.
No, but you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
if they don't know how to play by the time they get State of Origin, they shouldn't be there.
Yeah, no, I think State of Origin is more about man management and motivating the players to play their best and making sure that they're in the right frame of mind heading into game day. It's not so much the normal coaching duties that you'd expect to have. It's a very different sort of thing. And if you look at a guy like Mal Meninga and how successful he was with Queensland, where he didn't actually do a lot of coaching and it was pretty ordinary at club level. So maybe Mary will find his niche as a decent coach, as an assistant coach at State of Origin level as well. So
yeah.
Freddie must know something that we don't about McGregor's coaching abilities.
Yeah, again, I don't think it's about coaching abilities. Even Freddie himself, he was an awful club coach, but State of Origin level, he seems to go all right. He's got a way of.
Yeah, you got to try and get a team of champion players to play like a champion team.
Yeah.
So you got to look at State of Origin.
Yeah.
Right. Another thing that happened during the week, and this one's a little bit more Dragons related. It's a bit of a tearjerker, Benny. Adam Clune's farewell message to the fans.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, I struggled through that as much as he did. I think it's that's the sort of shitty part about this time of the year, and I guess you can't keep every player. You're going to have guys that are going to get moved on and through different circumstances, and unfortunately Clooney was one of the ones that happened to. But it definitely hurts, like when you're Mad Dragon supporters like we are, and you get a player like that really bleeds, red and white, and you could see, he's just devastated, and yeah. But what do you do? Like I said, you can't keep all of them. I just hope that some of the selections we've made moving forward are going to, to guys like Clooney, that they're going to bring the results that the club needs and wants, and doesn't make us look like a bunch of clowns, getting rid of guys like that. So, yeah, tough one.
Well, Joe, is it a case of the Dragons keeping the wrong players and getting rid of blokes that bleed red and white, like Adam Clune? Tarek Sims is another one that absolutely loves the Dragons club, and instead we look like we're going to bring in a bloke that bagged the club just 12 months ago in Moses Sully. Are we creating the right culture here at the club?
No, I don't know about. Look, we always try to create a good culture, and unfortunately, the powers that be who make these decisions to cull players and then sign other players and stuff like that I don't think they think about it in that realm. You know what I mean, Donnie? I don't think they really think about the culture side. They're looking at success and they're looking about on-field achievements and things like that. So that they kind of
just business.
Yeah, they look at that as a bit of a back burner. Just on Clooney, with his tears and everything else, I shed a couple of tears myself when I seen it, and I reckon every diehard Dragon would have. I mean, the only thing I want to say on that is that one important factor. I believe he was a better player than Corey Norman. I believe he should have played in Corey Norman's position all year, and Corey Norman should have been the backup. It's this, not because Adam Clune's leaving. I'm saying that. I've been saying that all fucking year. Yeah. So in moving forward, history will prove, and I hope to God he succeeds wherever he goes, because this boy loves the club, and this really hurts. This is the part of professional sport You know, I'm 50. Yeah, I grew up in an era where you played for a club that you chose because you liked playing for them, not because of the money. And that's a kind of player that had that sort of mentality. Who like a lot of players do love the clubs that they're playing at. But at the end of the day, they move on or think, "Oh, sorry, I've got to move on." But more money there that I could have there, more job security, all that sort of rubbish, right? But his tears reminded me of the 1980s. And that's why I cried, because that's part of the game that's died and we'll never get back, unfortunately, only because of the way it's headed and the way it is. You know what I mean? But yeah, it was, for me, in terms of building a culture, I don't know, man. They're just trying to build success. Culture doesn't exist anymore, because it does to a certain degree. But you with the young fellas that we've got there and everything like that, we're trying to build a culture, but in a professional format. But going back, what I'm annoyed at the most for this year, if I can summarize it in another 5 seconds of your time, would be the biggest disaster was having Corey Norman play more games than Adam Clune. That's it for me.
Yeah.
Cheers and good luck to Adam Clune.
Yeah, definitely.
Tony, welcome to the Mad Dragons podcast. It's sort of got a little bit lost that
we did
under Billy Dibbs being here. He was the big name, but you slid in and you made your debut as well, mate. So welcome.
Making my debut as well. That's right. Brilliant to be here. I love it. I've been watching it for so long, trying to get up the confidence to come on and have a chat with you guys. And yeah, no, it's really, really good. Yeah.
Today, welcome, mate.
Yeah, no, good
welcome,
to have
buddy.
you.
Good luck.
Good to have another South Coast legend on here.
Yeah, mate, that's right. Yeah, I'm a South Coast local now, mate.
That's
almost a local. Almost a local.
Well, let's have a little bit of
12 years now.
Let's have a little bit of a chat about last week's games, and we'll kick it off with Manly and the Roosters. Benny, I thought the Roosters would really make Manly work for it, but it was a pretty soft win for the Sea Eagles in the end. Tommy Turbo, DCE, wrapped in bubble wrap, 15 minutes from full time. Tommy Turbo was class, and Manly winning 42-6.
Yeah, I did not see that coming, mate. Even on the group chat, like I sort of tipped them for a win, but not by that. It's it just goes to show the disparity between the top 8 or top 6 now. But I think that the sort of top 4 teams, it's just so inconsistent, and it's been like that all year, with the results week in, week out, and it's following through into the finals. It's I guess it's sort of exciting on one hand that we're not, it's not super predictable, but also too, like there's probably a few teams there that they could have put on a better show, and it's tough like that because as much as I don't mind seeing the Roosters get belted, but not by Manly.
Yeah,
Dragons would have got closer to Manly.
Yeah, well, that's it, and that's the thing, like it's, like I don't think it was just the Roosters having an off week or Manly having a really, really good week for a final. It just wasn't very fitting for me. But
you do have to take your hat off to the Roosters, but to get where they were with the players they lost,
but
it was a great achievement for them.
You do have to take your hat off to them, but fuck them.
hey, listen.
That's
All right,
right.
look at the team. Look at the team that they still fielded: Victor Radley, Angus Crichton, Tedesco,
Morris,
Hargraves, Morris. Look at that team, bro. That makes our team looks like a fucking C team.
You think they're playing under the table, eh? Under the table.
Oh, don't get into this again. Fucking hell.
No, don't mention that, Uncle.
Shit again.
Oh fuck! We might as well get Uncle Nick on here. He gets a mention every week.
Every fucking
that's
week
right,
with this Pilatus bullshit. Every fucking week.
Oh Jesus Christ!
But in all honesty, the players I just mentioned. No, seriously.
We'll be back in a minute.
The players that I just mentioned. The players that I just mentioned, those 5 or 6 Roosters players, they should have beaten Manly, really. You know what I mean? They didn't know who were they missing? God, for fuck's sake. Anyway, sorry, boys. That's my Uncle Nick rant for the year. Finish.
Should have a segment called Joe's Rant.
Uncle
I
Nick,
think it'll
Uncle
work.
Nick.
I think it'll work.
Entire fucking show, isn't it?
Well, the Manly Roosters game was an absolute dud, Matty. But the other game that we thought, there was a few of us thought that this one might have been a bit of a blowout and the Panthers would have blown the Eels away. But many saying that this one was actually the game of the year, an absolute barn burner. Scoreless second half and Penrith winning 8-6. The NRL for years has been trying to get more points into the game, but we see a game like this and remember why we love rugby league in general. And it's not because of games with lots of tries. It's the intensity of an elimination final where both teams work their asses off for the full 80 minutes, doing whatever they can to win. A lot to talk about from this game, but I suppose the first question, Matty, is did the better team lose?
Look, there's a bit of a fence here on this one. Well, couple of decisions either way could have turned it, but look, I think Penrith deserved to win just. I think the score reflected how close the game was. I mean, out of the two games that we saw, if I had a choice between watching Manly and Roosters or Penrith and Parramatta, I'd take the Penrith game every day of the week and twice on Sundays. It's so much more entertaining, even though there was only 14 points scored.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a great game. Unfortunately, I didn't get to watch it live, so I already knew that the score when I watched it. But I still thought it was just the intensity of that game was beyond anything else that we've seen this season.
Absolute ball terror.
Yeah, I really thought Parramatta were unlucky. Parramatta were unlucky not to win that game.
Yeah, I thought Penrith were probably the better team for 65 minutes of that game, but only just. Yeah. And then Parramatta were probably convincingly the better team in that last 10 minutes or so.
I think Penrith have been real panicky over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah,
they're rushing their play. They've been off their game. When Fisher Harris had to leave the bubble, they lost Cleary at the same time, and they haven't come back to what they were then 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, and the dramas they had with Happy Coruscant as well. Remember that?
That's right. Yeah. It all derails.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've got some question marks over Ivan Cleary as the coach as well. I think he's stuffed with some things. Like, I can't understand what he's doing with Stephen Crichton. Stephen Crichton, to me, is one of the best centres in the game, and he's got him playing on the wing, and he goes back to fullback if Dylan Edwards is out. But does anybody else think that Paul Momorowski's a better centre than Stephen Crichton?
No chance on earth.
But maybe Stephen Crichton is a better winger than Momorowski.
Yeah, I think Charlie Staines is a better winger than I just think that he's stuffed around with that. He's stuffed around with Viliami Kikau as well, moving him to the bench, and that is a role that really hasn't seemed to work. I guess he's trying to do the same thing the Titans did with Fafita. We see Melbourne Storm doing it with Nelson Asofa Solomona, but it really hasn't worked for Penrith. And I think he's gone away from a formula that was working earlier in the season.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah, sure.
On saying that, though, what do you think of Ashley Klein? Fuck, he's a shit ref.
Oh,
he's
my God. How many mistakes?
Sutton's level, but he's up there.
How many mistakes did he make?
Horrible.
How many mistakes did he make that Parramatta and Penrith challenged him and was successful?
And won, yeah.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Well said, Tony.
Like, wrong, mate. Wrong. You can't make those calls. You can't. You can't have half a dozen wrong calls in a game.
No.
Yeah. Well said.
It's absolutely atrocious I'm glad the captain's challenge came in.
Yeah. I reckon they should give them two each.
That should be 2 each. There should be 2 each. Yes.
Yeah, 1 per half.
Yeah, one per half, I reckon.
Yeah.
Works well.
Does work well.
I'd like to
I
see
think it
more
would.
captains' challenges and take the use of the video away from the referees altogether. Now,
And give them
yeah.
more unlimited challenges.
No, not unlimited, because then they'll challenge everything. But if you give them two or three a game, or a couple of half, so four
Yeah.
a game, something like that. If you're wrong, then you lose the challenge. But even for tries, like the players know 99% of the time whether it's a try or not.
If they got the ball down.
So
Yeah.
if the referee awards the try, they're not going to challenge it if it's the correct decision. Like they know they're not going to waste a challenge on that, and then we just get on with the game. Like, yeah, if the referee's correct,
There is
just get on with it.
There is a tweak there. There's got to be a tweak. There's got to be a bit of working around it.
Well,
Yeah.
talking
There's a
about
definite tweak there.
talking about tweaks, Tony. A lot of talk about the 6 again after this game. The Penrith giving away
I tell you.
some cynical 6 again calls in this game. Do we scrap the 6 again rule? Do we tweak it, or is it fine the way it is?
I think we tweak it. We say if there's an infringement in your own 20, you should get a penalty.
In the first tackle.
I'd rather the penalty than a 6 again in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, what is it?
I got to
At the
wait. I
other
got to
end
What
of
wait.
does the
ground,
six
the other
again
end
on the
of the
first
ground.
tackle get you? It's pointless.
That's right.
At the
That's
other-
where it should be a penalty. Well said.
And at the other end of the ground, I think should also be a penalty inside your attacking 20 metres, because it gives you a chance to set up, or you can take the shot for goal.
Well, that was the reason why it was brought in the first place, because there was too many penalty goals in the game, and
Okay.
teams are just intentionally infringe and be happy to give away the 2 points.
What
So,
about late in the game? The scores are 14 all.
yeah?
You get 6 again on the first tackle. You've only got
Well,
6
it sets-
tackles still.
Set you up
but
for a field goal.
You
huh?
get the penalty. You take the 2 points.
14 seconds left. You don't have time for 6 tackles. Like,
That's right.
It doesn't matter that you get 6 again.
Yeah. But is the referee going to give that penalty with 14 seconds to go?
Probably not.
He'll probably give us 6 again.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he wouldn't give a penalty.
Well, it's a tough one, isn't it? I mean, sometimes in those situations, you see teams intentionally giving away a penalty. If you're intentionally if you're intentionally fouling in any way, that is that's the definition of a professional foul.
Yeah,
So if
That's
you're
right.
intentionally giving away a penalty, then
Exactly
it
right.
should be 10 in the bin. There was one in this game
go
where Gutherson got the ball, made a half break. Cleary made the tackle, just held onto him until the Panthers were able to get their line set. They gave the 6 again, but that was a professional foul. Cleary in the bin,
Yeah,
for the last 10 minutes of the
Yeah.
game. Imagine how that changes
Exactly.
the outcome.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of having the rule be different depending on what tackle it is or what part of the field you're in. I just think just get rid of it. Just go back to the way it was.
I don't think
Yeah.
it's improved the game. I don't think the 6 again ruling's improved the game.
I don't think the what was I going to say? Sorry, I forgot about. It's gone again. We'll be back. I had a big moment.
All right, Joe. All right, Joe. We've got 3 minutes to go through the other 2 games before we get booted off again. But Manly South on tomorrow night. South have won the last 4 against Manly, but Tommy Turbo hasn't played in any of those games. Last time Tommy Turbo played against South, Manly won 13 points to 12. So if we get a game like that, it'll be an absolute ripper. South winning round 2 in 26-12. Some differing reports, but it's come out tonight that Brad Parker has been scratched. Buzz was right. Wilder was wrong. Moses Sully will play for Manly in the centres. Sean Kepi, though, he's expected to play. How do you see this one going, Joe?
South by 4.
South by 4?
Yeah, I'm going with that one. South by 4.
I reckon
The
South
crafty
by...
elf, the crafty old bugger that Wayne Bennett, Clint Eastwood. I don't put nothing past him. He's a better coach than Matt Professor.
I think he's got a parent at the moment, and if they had Latrell, they'd win the comp.
I think it's South by 20. I reckon they'll win this one comfortably.
Okay.
South, yeah, for sure.
Matty, you're going Manly, aren't you? Come on, Matty.
I'm going Manly by 8.
Yes.
Manly by 8.
Based on what? Just to be different?
Just because
He lives out that way.
I don't think what I've seen from South recently, they're quite on Manly's level at this point. If Manly show up, they'll win by 8.
There we go.
All right.
All right. Benny, Panthers versus Storm. Games between the clubs have been going win-loss, win-loss, win-loss since 2017. Melbourne won the last meeting 37-10. So does that mean it's Penrith's turn?
You know, mate, I don't think so. I think after the last couple of weeks, I think like Tony said, you know, that the Panthers have just looked out of sorts. You know, last couple of games, you know, just whether it's coaching or they're just, you know, just don't have that finals experience to make the big calls when needed. Yeah, I think Melbourne are just going to be too good. You know, they're just, as much as it hates me to say that, I'd love for the Panthers to get the win, but I just think Melbourne are just going to be too good. Too well coached, too well drilled, depth across the field. I think, yeah. Bunnies, Melbourne for the grand final.
Yeah, I know. I said last week that Penrith were going to win this game after beating Parramatta, but after the way that game went, that was just so brutal. But they've still got Brian Toto, who looks 50-50 whether he'll play. Kikau's under a cloud. Tyrone May, who's coming into the team to replace Mitch Kenny, who got injured. I think the Panthers, they look a little bashed. Meanwhile, the Storm get Addo Carr back. Everything points towards Melbourne winning this. Yeah, so Panthers Storm. I mean, is there anybody that thinks that the Panthers can get the win? Matty?
Only if Melbourne missed the bus. The way Penrith played against Parramatta, I don't think there's an absolute hope in hell that they can even touch Melbourne. I think Melbourne are going to be way too strong for them.
I don't know. I sort of look at that and go, well, Parramatta beat Melbourne not that long ago. They've beaten them twice this year. Penrith have beaten Melbourne this year. Nathan Cleary hasn't played against Melbourne since the grand final, so that'll be a fire that's been burning in him for nearly 12 months now. So I think the Panthers at their best should beat the Melbourne Storm. I'm just not sure that we've seen their best for probably the last month and a half. And they've got a lot of wounded bodies and a lot of, blokes that are suspect as to whether they're actually going to play or not. And I think that just sort of counts against them being at their best. And they'll have to
be. Can they be at their best after that absolute war last week?
No.
Can they actually be at their best after that game?
Took a lot out of them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think the only hope they have is if they play that exciting brand of football with the young boys just smacking points on early, and then if they can get a decent lead coming into the first half, just defend it for the second. But Melbourne, they're not going to go down without a fight. I'll give you that.
Well, I mean, that's one thing we know about Penrith is that they are the best defensive team in the comp. So if they can get out in front, I think they're one team that can defend a lead. If they can, if they can get in front of Melbourne, then they'll be every chance. But I was a lot more confident last week before I saw that game against Parramatta. It was an absolute brutal war. I hope that we get at least one of these prelims is as good as that game. Really looking forward to this weekend of footy. And then we've got grand final week to look forward to, boys.
Yeah, for sure. I wasn't really that excited, talking a few weeks ago when we were just, working the 8 out, and none of us were really that excited about the finals series, but I think we're, it's turned out all right.
Well, I think
for the year that was,
I think that was kind of what we were saying, though, that the first couple of weeks of the finals were probably going to be pretty ordinary. And apart from that game, you know, against Parramatta, the Parramatta Penrith game, apart from that, I don't know that I've been all that excited about any of the other games. But yeah, really excited about the prelims. When we get to the top four, I think the top four teams have been fantastic. And yeah, we've got the best teams up against each other. Panthers, Storm, that's one that a lot of people were expecting this to be the grand final. And yeah. So it's come a week early.
We'll see how's that. Fucking.
So who's taking home the big trophy this year? Is anyone going to call it?
Melbourne.
Melbourne?
I
Penrith or South?
Every fibre of my being, but I think Melbourne will be too good.
Anybody but Melbourne.
I'm going Bunnies. I'm going the Rabbits. Rabbits for the win.
My heart's saying Manly because I fucking hate Melbourne, but my head's saying Melbourne.
It's good to have 3 Sydney teams there, but boys, eh? It's good to have 3 New South Wales teams there.
My heart would never say Manly, but
3 of them on the day.
So you got Manly, Donny?
No, my heart would never say Manly. There's no team I hate. Like I am dreading the possibility of another Manly Melbourne grand final because I hate both those teams. There's only 3 teams that I hate, and 2 of them in the grand final. No, thank you. That's not something I want.
One of the happiest days that I've ever known was the grand final that Manly absolutely belted the shit out of Melbourne 40-0.
Yeah.
So you tipping the Bunnies, Donny, or who's your tip?
Yeah, I think it's got to be the Bunnies. They're the only ones that can do it. If Penrith can't beat the Storm, I think if Penrith beat the Storm, then they win it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Bunnies Penrith grand final would be unreal.
No, I'd love that. That'd be the ideal scenario. But yeah, they're gonna have to be tough to get it done. Anyway, boys, might call it a night. I'm going to go and have a feed.
So, boys.